Helen, we got these two characters over here back with us again.
Yes,
you know.
we do.
We got Gordon and Christy back, and they just brought the whole group with them this time.
I know, and what fun they are.
And it's Beyond the Pale is the name of this group. They're fantastic. You guys have got to go see them live. I know that you're probably overlooking at the interview because you saw our tape. Go see them live. You're going to love it.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to just go real quickly, and you guys please introduce yourself, and then we're going to talk to each one of you a little bit about your life.
I'm Gordon McLeod.
Christy McLeod.
Besty Cummings.
And John Delaney.
Betsy, come up on that mic just a little. Just bring your chair up a few inches.
Is that better?
It'll help. Yeah.
Okay.
More level.
I project, so
There you go.
so she tells me.
So
Just the accordion.
we had the pleasure of having Gordon and Christy in here a few weeks ago. And we found out a little bit about their life, but for the people that didn't get to see that, let's kind of start that all over again, guys. Tell us. I'd like for each one of you to tell us kind of where you were born and raised, and what got you to the place where y'all all got together as a group.
Wow.
So I'll start with Gordon.
Okay. Well, I was born in Jacksonville, Florida, and grew up in Miami, and moved to Texas in 1976. And I've been playing music all my life. I always loved folk music and acoustic music. But I played in rock bands and blues bands and played my Strat a lot. But in 1993, I'd just gotten out of this kind of a long gig. I'd been playing this honky-tonk for a while in dance band, and I got tired of doing that. And I moved in next to an Irishman, and he played the Highland bagpipes and the classical guitar.
Oh, wow.
That's
Strange
quite a combination.
Yeah, played a lot of other things too. But he was sitting on his porch one day playing the classical guitar, playing some really pretty stuff. And I said, "Well, that's really nice. What is it?" He said, "Well, these are Irish tunes." He goes, "I know you play the fiddle." He said, "Go get your fiddle." And so we started playing together. And his name was Patrick Thurman. And so we got into playing together, playing Irish music together. And I'd play guitar for him, and he'd play guitar for me, and we'd switch off. And so Christy and I just got together, and she was going through kind of a rough time, going through chemotherapy, and she was over there on the couch one night, not feeling too well. I said, "Hey, why don't you come over here and play guitar for us, because I know you play guitar, and that'll take your mind off of it." So, and we were tired of, we wanted to play, I wanted to play the fiddle, and Pat wanted to play the whistle, and so that's how Beyond the Pale got started. And then I guess I'll let somebody else pick the thread up from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was when we were. I'm Christy McLeod, and I was born in Columbus, Indiana, but I got to Texas as soon as I could when I was 8 years old. I have always lived in and around the Metroplex area. And I started playing guitar as a teenager, very young teenager. Yes, we all did, you know. We got a guitar, we got the Bob Dylan songbook, and, you know, there you go. And then I didn't play for about 30 years after that. And then I met Gordon, and like he was saying, he and Patrick Thurman were tired of me sitting on the couch throwing up in a bucket. So they said, pick up the guitar and come in here with us. You know, so
Yeah.
I did, and music is very healing. It got me through a really rough time, and we started Beyond the Pale and played out. And then in 2001, Patrick left the band, and we were at another festival, and John and Betsy were in another band, and their band had just broken up, so
Yay.
so take it away.
So we got married. All together. Just the band. Okay, so little background on me. I grew up. Spent my childhood in Silver Spring, Maryland.
No
And-
way.
So she's-
That's
You're
where
from
I'm
Silver
from. Yes.
Yeah.
I love these things.
So yeah, I was born in George Washington Memorial Hospital in Georgetown,
Yeah.
and then grew up in Maryland. My parents are from the East Coast. Mom's from Annapolis, Dad's from New Jersey. Anyway, I grew up playing piano as a little girl and singing in the choir and all that. And that's really the only instrument I ever played was the piano. And I was taught to play classical naturally, and I had to go to all those competitions and recitals and things, and sang in the church choir, sang in the school choirs. And but I never did anything other than that. When I was younger.
What school did you go to?
Well, we lived in a rural area. I went to Burtonsville Elementary School. It was out in the rural area.
Okay.
And if you knew where Sandy Spring is or any of that. Excuse me.
remember.
Okay. But I would have gone to Sherwood High School, if that means anything. Anyway.
Well, your comment on the Catholic schools and John, St. Bernadette's here.
Oh, okay.
Remember St. B's?
Yeah, I do.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Well, and I grew up as far from being Catholic as possible. I grew up in a Quaker family, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I was exposed to a lot of Irish and Scottish music. My dad loved this kind of music because, and he loved the bagpipes. Scott Cummings is Scottish. My mother's family was Irish, so I heard some of these things like "Turalura Laura." You did too, some of those
sang that to me.
songs, the Irish songs. But I never played it. I played some folk music, like she said, Dylan and Joan Baez, which I didn't realize had its roots in Celtic. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't. Now, like Christy, I didn't do music. Didn't pursue it. I just kind of played them for fun. But I got to know John Delaney because I was dating the guitar player in the band he was in. And when they lost a player, it's kind of a funny story because John had heard me sing a little bit, and I was doing some open mic stuff, and they needed a singer to play at this Scottish festival that used to be in Arlington. And John told the promoter, Ray McDonald, that they had a singer that could join John in the songs in this group, and he said, "Oh, by the way, I booked you a gig."
Thanks.
At that point, and then eventually I became a member of the band. They kept me. It wasn't a one-off. They kept me, and then one of the other guys, we got a fiddle player who came in, and I said, I want to play an instrument too, but I don't want to carry a keyboard around, So Mike said, well, I've got this old accordion. Do you want to learn how to play it, a piano accordion? So he gave it to me, and I sort of figured it out.
I'd say you did.
And so I started playing the accordion in that band. And then, as Christy was saying, I think it was 2001, we were at Milwaukee Irish Fest. And she said, have y'all found a band, have you and John do anything? So now I said, well, why don't you come over to the house in Tyler?
Let's go steady.
Let's go start a band. And we did. We played, our first gig was at a place called Emerald Mist and Richardson together, and then it just stuck. So that's how. So anyway, that's my long-winded version of myself.
I'm John Delaney, and I am from Albany, New York. And most of my relatives are still up in Queens and Brooklyn, New Jersey, and some of them migrated down to Florida for some unknown reason. And I did go to Catholic school for in elementary. I went to St. James Elementary School, and from there, in fact, my great cousin was a Dominican nun, and she used to come and go out to the bars with my dad.
Seriously?
And, oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was. The Dominicans are very fun-loving order.
Like the Jesuits.
Right. So, but my father worked for the federal government and Army Materiel Command in Voorheesville and around Schenectady, and we moved to Pennsylvania in the Poconos, Pocono Lake, for when I was in junior high or 8th grade and 9th grade, and then he was transferred over to Korea, Seoul. So I spent 3 years in Seoul in high school and got out early to go to college through their exchange division, which was the University of Maryland. And so we came back to D.C. area, and I went to school in Hyattsville, Maryland, in Prince George's County, and very familiar with Silver Springs and the C&O Canal, and the biggest thing that I remember in my Washington days was the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, because I'd go there every year on the mall.
Very cool.
And graduated in '76, and my wife-to-be graduated from North Texas State University with a degree in weaving and fabric type things, which was the only place around that had that degree at that time. And I came down in '76 and started playing music with various people, and one thing led to another, and I was in a band that was at the first Texas K-Lee back in 80, whenever that was,
80, it was
83?
83.
83.
Yeah.
And Nick Farley's Lounge, and that became the Irish Festival every year after that. So I've been in like 4 or 5 different bands. Lost Tribe, which was the band Betsy and I were in, was probably the longest lasting. And I picked up various instruments along the way. In Korea, I got interested in Oriental music, and when I came back, there was a bamboo stand in our backyard in Texas, and so I started making flutes. And I played those flutes, and then eventually I got into sort of Irish music, and that wasn't so good for Irish music, and I got penny whistle and stuff like that. But then around 84 or so, maybe 83 too, because it had to be, because I played this then. I found a guy who was playing this type of instrument in Ola Padrita Mall, and there was a shop called Banjo Mountain, and it had a dulcimer in it. And I asked, "What is that? And where can I get one?" And he told me who made it, and I had to make me one. And the first one was like twice the size of this. It had 4 strings per course, and it was like a tank.
Wow.
So this one I got when I was in a band that had to play the Scarborough Fair Festival on weekends, and I had to tote it around. I couldn't tote the big one around. And so when Lost Tribe broke up, Betsy called me and said, "You want to be in Beyond the Pale?" I said, "Sure, why not?" So that's how we started. Not much rehearsal, but we just started, and we've been rehearsing ever since, I think.
That's
So
great.
tell us about, too, all the places you guys have been. Because y'all really, every time I look up, you're somewhere else. You know, you're traveling. And who wants to take that one on?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we've traveled. Just this band, Beyond the Pale, has traveled quite a bit, but mostly, I would say, in this area, South Central United States, Texas and Oklahoma,
Louisiana,
Mississippi, that kind of thing.
Y'all were down in Florida, too.
Yeah,
weren't you?
Christy and I go a little bit further because it's easier. There's 2 of us,
Yeah.
and we don't have real jobs, so
No, they're retired.
we can go a little bit further afield. So this summer we're going all the way to Oregon. We've been doing that in the summer.
You're going to love it.
Oh yeah, we did it last year
okay.
with McLeod and I. We went. We're going to be out 2 months this time in a
Fun.
very small RV. So you may not see us together.
When you start to go toward Oregon, let me know, because I want to tell some friends out there to come see you.
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Well, I want to know, because there's some story I'm getting here, Beyond the Pale. Where did the title come from, and how did... Go ahead.
Well, I was telling you the story about Pat Thurmond, and actually we didn't have a name for our group. It was just Pat and Gordon and Christy, and so we were getting ready to do this gig, and the bar, it was in this bar in Tyler, Texas, and the bar owner said, "Well, I have to have a name to put on the marquee," and we said, "Well, just put Gordon and Pat and Christy." He said, "No." I said, "You have to have a name," and I said, so Pat just said, "Well, just put Beyond the Pale." And so he said, "Okay." So I said, "What is that?" And he said, Patrick actually told me this story, but the area around Dublin in the 12th century, 13th century was controlled by England. And they called that area the Pale. The Pale means a perimeter or something like that. But they called it the Pale. And the area outside of that they didn't control in Ireland was where all the wild tribes were, and the people that were really they were fighting against, and so that they called that Beyond the Pale, that area where. So it came to be an expression meaning, if something is outrageous or
Outside of the norm.
outside the
Outside
bounds
the-
of decency, I suppose.
Well,
It's
that was
Beyond the Pale.
That was a good title, because it was reflective of Ireland, truly. So
Exactly.
that's cool.
So he, Pat was quite a scholar, and but it also has another meaning. It did refer to the ghetto in Europe, and before World War II, during those horrible times, and so there's a great klezmer band from Canada called Beyond the Pale as well, with a different kind of twist to the name, because Beyond the Pale for them meant they escaped from the really bad situation in Europe
Yeah.
at that time.
Interesting.
So, as you guys are fixing to do the Irish Festival, you said, but where after that? What do you have booked, and where can people see you in the next say 4 to 6 months?
Okay, well, let's see. We're going to be at the Sherman Celtic Festival, which is in Sherman, Texas, March 23rd, 24th. And then we are going to be at Trinity Hall, March 29th, I believe. I think that's right. And then we're going to be at the Texas Scottish Festival, May 18th, the weekend of May 18th, I think. Is when that is. No, I'm sorry, not May. We're going to be. It's in Decatur, and that's going to be.
That's the second weekend.
The second weekend in May,
Yeah.
and then we're doing a show at the Old Town Theater in Huntsville. That's actually going to be like a concert venue featuring Beyond the Pale in Huntsville on May 18th.
Texas, right?
In Texas,
Okay.
Huntsville, Texas.
And
Denton Jazz and Arts before that.
Denton
Yeah.
Jazz and Arts Festival. We're going to be there the last weekend in April. Anything
Y'all
else?
aren't doing hardly anything.
No,
Not much.
come on, slackers.
then we're going to East Texas to play in Tyler in June.
Yeah,
And then Gordon and I are taking off for 2 months in our very tiny RV
Going to Oregon.
as McLeod 9, and we're going all over. We're going from New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and Oregon, and maybe Washington.
Wow.
Well,
I'm
if you
still
get
booking
to
it.
Portland, you might as well just go across the bridge.
That's right. That's
I'm
right.
still booking it. If anybody wants us to play there, come see us on
We
Facebook.
can tell you some
Yeah.
good restaurants over on the Washington side, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice
There are a
up there.
bunch of them.
That's so cool that you get to do that. You get to travel. You get to see the United States, and you get to play your music, and that's what you love to do, and you get paid for it. And what a life!
And
How
the best
awesome.
part of it is we get to meet great people like you guys.
No.
You know,
Appreciate
it's like
you
we
saying that.
we meet so many nice people, and then if we've done a house concert at their place or at their studio or wherever, they're like friends, and you just
yeah.
still stay connected with them. It's,
Sure.
it's really a
Let-
wonderful
let's
thing.
Be sure, too, and tell people in this segment how they can find you to book you for that house concert.
They can find us on Facebook, Beyond the Pale, Texas, or Facebook McLeod 9 Music, or websites Beyond the Pale with hyphens in between, our McLeod.com or McLeod9music.com.
Okay.
All right.
9 spelled out.
Yes.
And if anybody wants to hire John and me when they're gone, we're
Yes. Yes.
They don't have a
Absolutely.
website, but they'll
Sitting
make one
around.
up real quick.
Well, I'll tell you what.
We'll
I
form
bet.
another
I
band.
bet somebody does what you want to do.
No
Well, Betsy
kidding.
plays with another band too
I
called
do.
Skeleton McKee,
Yeah.
and they stay pretty busy as
yeah,
well.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, that band, Betsy, where do they play? In this area as well?
Yes, mostly the pubs in Dallas and McKinney, like Trinity Hall and the Celt in McKinney, and then we'll be at Irish Festival as well, and you know, getting some other things going. But it's more of a Celtic rock band. It's a little bigger, has drums and back line and all that.
Very
so,
cool.
yeah.
John, what are you going to do?
I'm going to learn some more tunes.
You can come over here and we can play your instruments.
Okay,
Yay!
that's good.
Yeah. And you know that big.
Bring 'em out.
You know the big dulcimer you talked about, the
Yeah.
huge one. Somebody gave me one, and I've got it in there, in the downstairs bedroom, and it's like as big as for me to Gordon almost.
Jeez.
Wow.
And it's, but I don't know what to do with it. So you may have a big dulcimer.
Where did you get that from?
We've had it sitting in there for 3 years. I don't
Yeah.
know. Somebody called me one day and said, "I've got something I want to donate to in the music room." And
All right.
they brought it by, and I didn't know what the hell to do with it. It was big. If I'd have put it in here, I would have had to take a lot of stuff down. Actually,
Sounds like you ought to put wings on it.
yeah, that's not a bad idea. But yeah, you do need to come down and visit sometime.
Yeah, I
maybe,
will.
maybe during that period.
Sounds like the living room in our house is my music room. So if you come in, there's instruments all over the place.
Our whole house is the music room.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
It's okay.
So
Ours is like that.
So I mentioned it a while ago, and I wasn't in jest. Why don't you guys come back a year from now, about this same time? We'll pick a date and come back. And Christy, if you'll call me,
Yeah.
we'll just get it on the calendar.
It'll need to be in February because Irish Fest is going back to the first weekend in March, which has traditionally always
We can
been the
do that.
first weekend. But there was a conflict this year, so they had to move it back.
Well, luckily though, because next year's a leap year, and the 29th.
Oh.
It's going to end up being like March 6th, 7th, and 8th. So
Okay.
because the March 1st
Just
is
the
on
way
a
it's
Sunday.
fallen.
So
Yeah.
typically
Yeah.
it would be that way, but the leap year
So we could
changes
do it like
everything.
a-
Yeah.
Next
March
year.
the 3rd or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So-
you know, that wouldn't be a bad idea. We could go in there right that
No,
couple days
not
before.
at all.
If you'll call me in the next
I will.
week, we'll get it set. Okay.
Well, this has been so much fun, you guys.
That's for us,
It's
too.
been wonderful seeing you two again
been
and
great
meeting
to be
you
here.
two from right in the neck of the woods where I'm from. That's so cool. And your
lived in
wife went to
Maryland.
the same college I went to. I mean, talk about small world, you know. But
And we all live in the United States.
shut
Yeah.
up, Randy.
And we all like and we all like music, and we all love music. So
Some of us are around most of the time.
Whatever.
We don't travel out to Oregon and
Aw.
Washington in the
You
small
should.
RV.
I know because
I know.
I'm not retired and you
Exactly.
are. Oh well.
Okay. So we're not footloose and fancy free
No,
like
we're
these
not.
beautiful people.
One
out there.
day, maybe. One day.
There you go.
Guys, we look forward to you coming
Thank
back
you.
soon.
Thanks
for
In
having
fact,
us.
a
Really
year
appreciate
is
it.
going to go by like that.
Oh, it
It
always
will.
does.
It
we look
will.
forward to having you in here. And I want to thank, too, everybody that's been here, Gene, Barbara, Bruce, for all the pictures y'all get.
yes,
And
Thank
Gabby
you.
and Reno
Yeah.
back in the back. They've done a great job tonight.
Yeah.
It's not easy. We're so used to, as y'all know, maybe having 2 or 3
Yeah,
inputs
right.
coming off. So when they've got to watch all these and
Yeah.
3 cameras, and actually
You
4
challenged
cameras,
them
Facebook.
tonight. That's
Yeah,
good.
it was
It's good for
It
them.
was
Yeah.
good.
Cool.
But anyway, Helen, thank you for putting up with all this. I know that
It's fun. Hey,
yeah. And you know what?
what?
We're all in the music room.
Yes, we are.
yes, we are.
We're in the music room.